Greetings to you, brethren. We are in the second week of Lenten season, the season of prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. Today's gospel passage is taken from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew chapter 21, verses 33 to 43, and verses 45 to 46, under the theme, the parable of the wicked tenants. This is one of three parables to be found in both synoptic gospels, that is in Matthew, Mark, and Luke. The other being the parable of sower and the parable of the mustard seed. The parable of tenants is an allegory in the sense that it is a story in which each element, either things, people, or happenings, it has a hidden and symbolic meaning. Analyzing this passage, we can identify the following. The landowner mentioned in this parable as God. The vineyard is the nation of Israelites. The tenants are the people of Israel or its religious leaders. The servants are the prophets of God. The son who is killed is Jesus Christ. We can see that God established the covenant with Israelites. He sent the prophet, that is his servants, and they were killed by the Israelites, as is mentioned in the 1 King, chapter 19, verse 10 and verse 14, or in the Acts of the Apostles, chapter 7, verse 51 to 53. This shows the wickedness of Israelites toward God's servant. For instance, they killed Zechariah by stoning him. Lastly, God sent his son, that is Jesus, as we heard in the parable, whom the tenant killed. Surprisingly, the parable tells us that God put the original tenants to death, that is pronounced judgment upon Israelites. The people to whom Jesus was speaking would recognize the vineyard imaginary from Isaiah chapter 5, verse 1 to 2, where the landowner planted a vineyard, built a watchtower, and hewed out a wine vat. The triple emphasis on fruit in verse 43 reflect the importance of the word throughout this gospel. Jesus wants to show that the Jewish leadership had failed to produce good fruit, and as a result, due to their failure, the vineyard was given to those who can produce good fruit. In Jesus' parable, the outcome is not the destruction of the vineyard, but instead its transfer to other farmers who can give and produce good fruits. So, when we try to understand this parable as an allegory, this means that God has given every possible things to Israelites. He has established an everlasting covenant with them. He led them through good and bad times, has given them the promised land as their inheritance, has given them the land and prophets to guide them. So, Jesus is telling a story to make a point. That is to say, God's Son is sent to redeem the world, and that the Jewish authorities were going to kill him. This murder outside the vineyard, as narrated in the parable by Jesus, corresponds to Jesus' death on Golgotha outside Jerusalem. Apart from that, we can see the chief priests and elders pronounced judgment on themselves as they tell Jesus how unfaithful tenants should be treated. They were not aware that they are judging themselves for the death of the Son of God. This parable could tempt us to spiritual pride, but neither of those is appropriate. Remember, God has taken the vineyard to those who were not wealthy, that is the Israelites, and given to those who can produce fruits. Dear brethren, we are the tenants in this parable. God has given us everything what we need. He allows us to manage our vineyard as we choose, that is our lives and our possession. But we choose not to take care of this vineyard. We may ask ourselves, what fruit can I produce to the Lord? Every one of us is given the vineyard by God, be it our families, be it our marriages, our communities, our works, our church, our environment, and all the kinds of ministries and entrusted duties. They are part of our vineyard. God does not exclude anyone from the vineyard, but we choose to exclude ourselves. We want to live our own lives as we like and take our personal decision in our own interest. We find it hard to adjust our lives fully to Christ. The element of this attitude, this is the heir, come, let us kill him and inherit the possession, exists in all of us in today's world. Our pride and our selfishness make us less receptive of God. God is looking for people who bring forth fruit. We won't be judged according to the number of sermons or the number of the people we baptized or the number of the people we converted in our own churches. But God is only looking for one thing: how committed are we? How faithfulness are we to Him? Therefore, brothers and sisters, each of us has his or her own conscience, either to embrace this gift that God has given us or to waste it. Remember, for everyone who has, more will be given to them or to him or her. And the one who does not have, and even the little one, will be taken to him or from him. May God be blessed now and forever. Amen.